Hello and welcome to my comic book review video. Today I will be reviewing the books that were released on the 26th of September. It was payday this week, so it was a big week for me. So my reviews this week may be a bit more concise to sort of try and get through all the books, and I might not go as in depth because I'm really conscious I want to get it all in the 30 minutes. So let's get straight down to business. And it's the last week of the Zero issues, so we kick it off with a Zero issue, as we kick it off with Batman, The Dark Knight, written by Greg Hurwitz. Art, we've got two artists on this book, which I'm not usually a fan of. Two artists, Miko Suyan and Juan Jose Ripe. I hope I pronounced that right. This issue sort of deals with, each Zero issue has dealt with a different aspect of Batman's life before he become the Bat. This issue deals with his childhood as he's trying to make sense of his parents' death. That there had to be a bigger reason. They couldn't have just been randomly killed for no reason, for just some senseless death. And so he investigates, and we see him through his childhood years, through his college years, as he continues to investigate his deaths until he finds the man responsible and tries to get answers. Initially I was nervous about this issue. I was thinking, oh god, they ain't going to mess up with with Batman's origin story. But I ended up finding myself really enjoying this issue, and it's that whole trying to make sense of a death that I really understood. I myself have lost a parent to a senseless death, and it is like it comes right out of the blue. You don't expect it to happen. There is nothing to indicate that anything's going to happen, and then it happens, and you do try and sit there and try and make sense of it all. So I really empathised with Bruce's journey in this book, and maybe that's why I enjoyed it a bit more, because I really empathised with that whole journey that Bruce was going on as he tried to make sense of it all. But yeah, as I say, I really ended up enjoying the book. Usually I don't like two artists, I find it jarring, but I didn't notice it too much, and I don't know if I was just engrossed in the story or what. But I didn't really find it too jarring, the art styles. And now I'm flicking through it now, I can see a bit more clear that there are a distinctive change in style. But initially anyway. But yeah, it's a good book and a good glimpse into his early years. And I really enjoyed this. And this whole Zero-ish month, there were some books I was looking forward to. Some books like this one, I was like, well, what new can they add? But they have found some good stuff to sort of tell us about Batman, and I'd give this book a thumbs up. And next up, we have The Punisher, the final issue of The Punisher. Yeah, it's issue 16. Greg Rucka, written by Greg Rucka, art by Marco Checchetto, and colours by Matt Hollingsworth. And I mentioned Matt Hollingsworth because I think this book is real collaborative effort. It's the art, it's the colouring that's all dark and moody, and it's the writing. They just all blend together to produce this perfect comic book, and it is a really great book. Initially I was a bit confused with how the book finishes, but then after seeing some reviews of it and reading the book again, I kind of get it. Like you can see there, the art is very dark and moody, and it always seems to be raining in the Punisher book. Yeah, I can never recall seeing rain in Spider-Man or the Avengers, but anyway. Yeah, it's a really great issue. It wraps up the whole Rachel storyline as we get to see her ultimate fate, and Punisher has a decision to make, you know. Should anyone else lead the life that he leads, or should they be set free? Like I say, I've really enjoyed this book. So sad I came to it so late, and that, you know, I've only been collecting it for about 5-6 issues. I'm definitely going to go out and try and pick up the trades of the earlier issues, and I'll be rereading this one for years because it's a really strong book. And part of me is really sad to see Greg Rucka go, because, you know, you look at people like Brubaker, he's run on Captain America. You look at Bendis, he's run on Avengers, and Jeff Johns run on Green Lantern. And you think if Greg Rucka had been given that length of time on The Punisher, what fantastic stuff could he give us? So I am sad to see him go. Don't know what's going to happen to Frank Vermeer. I'm looking really forward to Punisher Warzone. That comes out in October, and hopefully, you know, I'm confident Greg Rucka's going to go out with a roar and a bang, and give this book a thumbs up. Definitely recommend checking it out. Next up we have Space Punisher issue 3 of 4, written by Frank Terry, art by Mark Texeira. Another great issue. This book is just like a comic book action movie. Loads of explosions, loads of stuff going on. Nothing makes any sense, but it's all fantastic fun. This issue, Punisher is still trying to track down the members of the Six-Fingered Hand mafia organisation that killed his parents. He's killed 2 of them. This issue he tracks down the other 4. They're all hiding out on Skull World, which is the base of Red Skull. And Punisher gets there, but there's his army of Hitlers, these Hitler clones, that he has to battle his way through. And he ends up getting captured, but then he's able to lay a trap. And he manages to escape, and he manages to also find out that the power behind the Six-Fingered Hand is in fact the Watchers. So he's now going for the Watchers, which to battle the Watchers, these godlike creatures, he needs to go to Avengers Planet, a symbol city, to get a weapon. So yeah, loads of fun. I love this issue. I love the reimaginings of all of these characters as in space. You see here, here's a symbol city. It's just brilliant. I just really love this book. I really recommend checking it out because it is a load of fun. It is a load of fun, and it's a really good book. Definite thumbs up for me. Next up we have The Flash issue 0, and this was my pick of the week. We've got Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato. They not only co-write the book, they also draw and colour it. So it's like a real vision, and it's so good. Like the art in this book, the way they tie the panels together at times is so imaginative. Here's a great scene from early on in the book. This issue we get the origin of the Flash, and we get to understand Barry Allen a lot more as we learn a lot more about his childhood. The story really kicks off with the accident, and he's in a hospital and he thinks he's dying, so he's going over his life. So we get to learn about his childhood. We get to learn about a key instance in his childhood that sort of shaped him and shaped the man he would become, and also shaped the profession that he would go into. And sort of the end of the book is him becoming the Flash. So it's a really nice journey we see Barry go on through the book, and you really get a better grip of who Barry Allen is in this book, and it's a great 0 issue. It's also really great for the new people to sort of jump on and try this book, and I really recommend trying it. It's always been a gorgeous book. The art by Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato, the art, the colour, has always been fantastic. But as the story's gone on, it's really picked up. And yeah, initially they were leaving things dangling, and you're thinking, well, they haven't tied that up, and they haven't tied that up. But then if you got the annual, a lot of sort of things that they've left dangling sort of have come home to roost. So, you know, and the issues, the story's just got tighter as it's gone, and it's just really improved. And it's really one of the best books DC are putting out, and I'm really enjoying it, and recommend checking out the 0 issue. My pick of the week, and a definite thumbs up. Next up we have Justice League Dark by Jeff Lemire with art by Lee Garbett. I've really been enjoying this book. I've only bought it since Lemire came on board, so I didn't see the original issues where the team came together. But because they came together in the original issue, the 0 issue just concentrates on John Constantine and Zatanna, and we get to learn a bit more about their history before the Justice League. We get to find out who they are and what they've been up to, and we get introduced to a few new characters who I'm confident will be coming up in future issues of Justice League Dark. And that's been one of the interesting things about the whole 0 issues. You have some writers who are just giving you straight out origin stories, and you have other writers who are just planting stuff in there that you're sure they're going to come back to in future issues of their books. And in both ways, I like it. I like that you've got these different approaches, because if you just had like 52 origin books, it'd get a bit much. So I like that they've introduced, some of the books are shaking it up a bit and introducing new characters or telling us more about our characters. I really like that. The art, yeah, the art was alright. It wasn't one of them books where I'm raving about the art. It was good. I really enjoyed the story. Really enjoyed seeing, you know, Constantine, Zatanna, and this Nick Necro, and sort of how the story goes. I thought, you know, Lemire did a really good story here, and I'm looking forward. I'm positive that Nick Necro is going to show up again, and yeah, I'd give this book a thumbs up. A good little bit of history there. Next up, we have X-Men Legacy, issue 274, the penultimate issue of this book before the book finishes. Written by Christos Gage, art by, I think his first name is David Baldeon. Another really good book. I love that cover, I gotta say. I always love Magneto's outfit. I know he looks a bit silly with the whole pants thing, but I do love the whole how he has the cape and the helmet. It always makes him, in my mind, look so regal. But anyway, this issue is after the conclusion of Avengers vs X-Men, but Christos Gage does a good job of writing it in where he doesn't really have to focus too much on that. This is Rogue dealing with the aftermath, trying to help people. Some people are like, well, it was your kind that caused all this. Magneto turns up, and together with Rogue, they try and save some people that from the subway where buildings have collapsed on it. But there's this one guy there who's impaled, and he's sort of going over his life because he knows he's going to die. The thing that's impaled him has got just as much plastic as metal in it, so Magneto can't break it off. And the guy's just going over his life and his regrets. Meanwhile, before this has happened in the sub, when they were going to help people, Magneto's proposed to Rogue. He wants to marry her. Now that all this is over, he sort of wants to marry her and be together again. So you've got that going on. You've got this guy who's going over his life, and it sort of puts everything in context for Rogue, and she makes a couple of big decisions at the end of the issue. A really lovely issue. Pretty much it's a standalone story. You don't need to have been following this book to read this story. I've really been a fan of how Christos Gage has written Rogue. She's never been one of my favourite characters. She's always a character that's fascinated me because of the fact that she can't touch nobody, and I've always found that fascinating as a power and a curse. It's like a lot of the Marvel characters, their blessing is also their curse, and I think Rogue epitomised that just as much as anybody in the Marvel universe. But the way Christos Gage has written it, I really am a big fan. And I hope that he's going to get a book when they launch the whole Marvel Now books, because I have been enjoying this book. Won't be picking the relaunch of this. It's going to concentrate on Legion, the son of Professor Xavier, who I'm not really interested in. So I won't be picking this book up when they relaunch it, but I will be picking the final issue up in 2 weeks. And I'm sad to see this come to an end, and I give this issue a definite thumbs up. Next up, we have Star Wars Darth Maul Death Sentence, written by Tom Taylor, art by Bruno Redondo. This issue, we get to see Darth Maul's true colours. The demon in the light, as the indigenous race of this planet think he is. They think he's going to lead them to victory. And Darth Maul's trying to train them, show them the way to the dark side, how to use their anger, so that they can defeat this J-Boag and the race cannot die out. Meanwhile, the Jedi are with J-Boag, and they're beginning to get a bit suspicious of his motives. We get to find out, which I'm not going to spoil, but we get to find out why he put a bounty on the head of Darth Maul and Savage Opress. The Jedi, you know, question him about this potential genocide of the indigenous race to the planet he's mining, and he pretty much doesn't care. Help is on the way for the Jedi, so they're going to arrest J-Boag. But then Darth Maul and this indigenous race, they all attack. The Republic show up, and the end of the issue is just this one great big massive smackdown, and sets it up beautifully for the next issue. There's a lot I've sort of left vague or left out there deliberately, because I don't want to spoil this book. I really think, you know, Dark Horse seemed to be on a bit of a roll. Darth Vader in the Ghost Prison was awesome, and while this doesn't rise to the heights of that book, this is still a very good book. And you know, this issue we're getting to see a bit more. The last issue they kind of presented that Darth Maul might be this kind of like a hero in the one light. This issue we see, no, he's not a hero. He's the same despicable character that we know and love. And yeah, he does get dark side in this issue, and it was another issue I really enjoyed. The art I also really enjoyed. You see you've got that spaceship there, the Republic show up. We also get a brief cameo from Yoda and Mace Windu. But yeah, I love the art as well, and I'm really enjoying this book. Final issue next month. It's going to be a great conclusion. I give issue 3 though, I give it a thumbs up. And next up, and we're getting through these great, is Aquaman issue 0, written by Geoff Johns with art by Ivan Reis. I love Ivan Reis's art. I'm going to look forward to him when he goes to draw Justice League of America. Though I'm wondering what's going to happen to this book. If Geoff Johns and Ivan Reis are going to do Justice League of America, you would think that would mean this book's going to be a new writer and a new artist. I can't imagine this book written or drawn by different people. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens to the book and when they've gone. Will it drop in popularity, or will they bring someone on board who can do the character justice? But anyway, this issue 0, deals more with Atlantis, and we kick the story off with Aquaman's dad dying. Aquaman then goes in search of Atlantis, but he can't find it. He saves this guy and his daughter on this boat from crashing on the rocks. He tells him then of this guy who said he was from Atlantis, who's living in Norway. So Aquaman goes to Norway. Meanwhile, during all this time as well, he's beginning to learn his powers and his abilities, what he can do. And he ends up in Norway, and this guy tells him all about his mother and about Atlantis and about all of the family history and how he's the true king of Atlantis. And so they go to Atlantis, and that's where it ends. It ends with them arriving in Atlantis, and it's such a bizarre end. It's a fantastic book, loads of information. I will need to read this book again because there is a lot of information to take on board. But then it just sort of ends with what it seemed the whole story was setting up, which was Atlantis. So we don't get to any clearer on his time in Atlantis. I don't usually do this, but this is the final page, beautifully drawn. But it was just a strange way to end the book. And up to that point, it had been a really good book. You see here's Aquaman saving the day. Saving the boat from crashing on the rocks. I love this page with the shark. But as always, Ivan Reis' art is just fantastic. But it was just a really strange way to end the book. It was like building you up for something that never happened. And I did find that disappointing, though you do find a lot about Aquaman. So for me, I think I'd give this one a thumbs in the middle, because it was just really, it left me feeling really disappointed. Next up, we have The Amazing Spider-Man, issue 694, written by Dan Slott, art by Humberto Ramos, and it concludes the whole Alpha storyline, which I was really surprised it wrapped itself up so quickly. This issue, Spider-Man has been in the lab trying to find a way to cure Alpha of his powers, while at the same time keeping him alive, and so far he's been unsuccessful. He decides to go to the airport to say goodbye to Aunt May. He bumps into the Avengers, and there's this threat called Terminus. So with the Avengers, they're fighting Terminus. The Avengers ask Captain America, in fact, asks him to call in Alpha. Spider-Man's hesitant, but they insist, so he calls in Alpha. But then Alpha is just got fighting this guy Terminus, but not thinking of the innocent people around, and where the Terminus's weapon stops all the aeroplanes working, so they have to try and save all the people. Spider-Man gets Captain Marvel to throw him towards Aunt May's aeroplane, and he has to try and save Aunt May. Really good book, really good story. I've not been a fan of the Alpha character, but I think that was how it was meant to be. I don't think you were meant to like Alpha. I like how they wrap it up, but they also leave it a little bit open. I think this issue really saw Dan Slott return into form. For me, and maybe I'm being unfair, it felt a little bit like we've been treading water. But this issue really picked it up. This one and the last one, I've really picked the book up, and I'm looking forward to the journey to issue 700 now, and I'm curious to see, well, what's the big thing that's going to come up with issue 700. But a good issue. My one gripe would be the art. I'm not a fan of Humberto Ramos. The way he draws Captain America there, I don't like it. And some of his faces, he draws Spider-Man well, but some of the characters' faces that you see, I'm trying to find, yeah, some of the characters' faces there, I just don't think I'm just not a fan of his style, and it's just a personal thing. But the book, I think, is getting back to form, and I'm looking forward to the journey to 700, and I give it a thumbs up. Next up, we have The Incredible Hulk. Also, the penultimate issue is issue 14, written by Jason Aaron, art by Jeffy Pello. At last, we have got a consistent artist, which is good that we've got a consistent artist. This issue, Hulk teams up with the Mad Squad to go after Doctor Doom. Little does he realise that behind all these schemes, it's not Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom's not even on Earth. That it's in fact all the Doombots, all his decoys. And they go to this company called Brain Damage Incorporated because they know they cannot beat the Hulk physically, so they're going to go for the brain. And so this organisation unleashed this agent called the Vegetable, and it's this guy in a coma, but the guy can go inside people's heads because he's like asleep in this coma, psychically in his mind he's awake, and he's going to go into the Hulk's head, and he's going to, just kill the Hulk from inside. So Hulk and the Mad Squad, they go out, back with the Doombots, but then this guy the Vegetable turns up and gets inside Hulk's head. What's going to happen? It was a really good issue. I really enjoyed it. Fast paced, lots of action. There were some really funny moments. Jason Aaron does a really great job of differentiating between all the different Doombots. And there's this one Doombot that keeps asking, has Dr. Doom phoned yet? Has Dr. Doom phoned? And he just keeps asking, and I like that. He added in that tinge of comedy that he always does. I'm sad Jason Aaron's run's coming to an end on this book, because I have enjoyed his run. I know him in the minority when I say that, but I do enjoy Jason Aaron's writing, and I look forward to seeing what he's going to do with Thor, God of Thunder, and I look forward to seeing what Mark Waid's going to do with the Indestructible Hulk. But before then, we've got the final issue, and they've set it up really nice. The art, I'm kind of conflicted. Some of it I liked, some of it I didn't. So it wasn't a great one for the art. But for me, it's just some of the angles are just a bit too square, especially how he draws the Hulk. I don't know. But so I wasn't a massive fan. But there was some good art in here as well. So yeah, but I'd give the whole book a thumbs up. Really enjoying it, and look forward to see how it concludes. Next up, we have Talon, issue 0, plotted by Scott Snyder and James Tynion IV, written by James Tynion IV, with art by Gillen March. And this issue is very much the origin of the Talon. We know the Talons are the foot soldiers, the assassins of the Court of Owls. This issue we meet Calvin Rose. We get to learn about his childhood. We get to learn about how his life before the Court of Owls, how he was picked by the Court of Owls, his training, and why he chose to leave the Court of Owls and to run. Really great story. A great, well-written character that I instantly took a liking to, and you want to see him succeed. It's going to be interesting where they're going to go here with him. Is he going to become a hero, or is he just going to be constantly on the run from the court? So I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with this book, but certainly from this issue, it really whetted my appetite. I enjoyed the art as well. I thought that they did a very good job with the art. There's a creepy picture there when he gets picked by the Court of Owls. But yeah. It's there's some really good stuff in here, and I really enjoyed this book. I really recommend picking it up, trying it out. It was a really great issue, and I will be picking this up, and I give it a thumbs up. Next up, we have Batman and Robin, issue 0, written by Peter Tomasi, art by Pat Gleason. This book for me has been up and down. I loved the initial story. The last story I thought had two great ideas that just didn't work. Maybe they would have worked better separately. But this issue really much more focuses around Damian, and we get to find his whole backstory and his childhood and how he came to be with his father. And you do, if you hadn't read Damian before, you do get a better understanding of who and what he is. My one gripe is it's this whole that heroes have only been around 5 years thing. So if you say Batman's been around for 6 years in this DCU, because Justice League came together 5 years ago, so say Batman's been around for 6 years. Damian is 10. His mum says that she has seen both of his father's faces. She knows him as Batman, she knows him as Bruce Wayne. And that whole thing in the tent happened when he was Batman. But Batman's only been around 6 years. Damian is 10. My maths isn't great, but even I can see there's a bit of a discrepancy there, and I don't quite understand it, and this book doesn't throw any clarity. I thought he was going to end up being like a cloned baby, and that they've quickened his aging, but they don't. We see him from being very little all the way through till he's 10. So yeah, that was something for me that I would have liked explained, because it still doesn't add up to me how Damian could be 10 but Batman's only been Batman for 6 years. I'm sorry, I don't get it. But I think that's one of the problems. I don't think they thought out well enough all the history of their universe when they decided this whole we're going to do 5 years thing. But anyway, this book was a good book though. I don't think it's a must-have, but it does throw a bit more light on Damian. The art, as always, by Gleason is beautiful. So yeah, I'd give it a thumbs up, but I wouldn't go out your way to get it if you've been following Batman for a few years and you know all the backstory to Damian, because they don't change it that much. This is a scene that I really love when he finds his father's cowl in his mother's drawer. That I like that scene. I thought that was really cute. But yeah, all in all, yeah, it was a good issue, but wouldn't go out your way to get it. And finally, the last book, and looks like I might get into the half an hour now. It is Frankenstein, Agent of S.H.A.D.E, issue 12. This book was from a month ago, but I picked up the 0 issue. It reminded me why I love Frankenstein. The only reason I gave it up buying it, I think it was issue 3, was the last issue I got, was because at the time I had a limit on how many books I could buy a month. So I cut it, but I never stopped buying it because I didn't enjoy it. So I bought the 0 issue and I loved it, and reminded me of all the things I liked about Frankenstein. So I went back. This was the only back issue they had at my comic book shop, but I've been able to find the others on eBay, so I will have the full set soon. But this issue was brilliant, and considering like it's issue 12, it was really easy to pick up and to follow it and to see where they were. There's a mole in S.H.A.D.E, so Frankenstein's investigating this mole. At the same time, somebody trying to kill him. He's inside this beast called the Leviathan. Frankenstein keeps having the visions of all these different body parts he's got that have come from different people, have come from bad people, and he's having these visions of all the crimes these people have done. So, but at the same time, while he's having these visions, he's trying to kill this beast, the Leviathan, and he's in its belly. He frees all these people that used to be agents of S.H.A.D.E, and he kills the beast. And he finds out, he gets to this graveyard of the Leviathans, and he finds out that the guy who S.H.A.D.E put in charge of the graveyard, Agent Mycroft, is in fact the Mole. And he has the Satan ring, and the Satan ring can tell the future. And so the future showed him that he would die at the hands of Frankenstein. So he tried to kill Frankenstein. But this is where like it gets clever, because Frankenstein didn't even know this guy existed. If this guy hadn't tried to kill him, Frankenstein wouldn't have come for him. So it's kind of like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If he hadn't tried to stop Frankenstein, Frankenstein would never have killed him. So, you know, I liked that kind of twist. But there's another twist, as the Mycroft has set up this trap, and the Satan ring wakes up one of the dead Leviathan, brings it back, and Frankenstein's got to battle it. While at the same time, Agent Nina, her mask is broken, and she wears special gear because she can only breathe underwater, but it's broken and she's dying. So Frankenstein, can he save Agent Nina? Can he stop this giant Leviathan that has risen? But yeah, that this book was fantastic. That, you know, we get to find out the answers to those questions, and it's a load of fun. I love this book and give it a definite thumbs up. I'm definitely on board with that series. So there's all my books. I've just about got them in time. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out the subscribe button to get all my videos, or there's the thumbs up, thumbs down below me. Thanks once again for watching. I really appreciate everyone who watches my videos, and I'll be back next week. Bye for now.